Clarity is the most powerful catalyst for change. It's the turning point, the moment of realization that transforms confusion into certainty. When someone realizes they need you back, it's not just a fleeting thought, it's the result of a deep, often painful process of self-discovery. They've been operating in the dark, believing they could move forward without you, thinking they could fill the space you once occupied with something or someone else. But then something shifts. A moment of undeniable truth strikes them, and suddenly everything becomes clear. Clarity doesn't come when things are comfortable. It doesn't arrive when distractions are present, when they're surrounded by noise, or when their mind is preoccupied with temporary fixes. It happens in the quiet, in the stillness of reflection, in the moments when they least expect it. It's in that split second when they realize that everything they've tried to convince themselves of, everything they thought would help them move on, has been a lie. The void you left isn't something they can ignore anymore. They start to see the patterns, the empty conversations that don't compare to the depth they once had with you, the excitement that fades too quickly because it lacks the real connection they once knew. They notice how laughter doesn't feel the same, how comfort isn't as genuine, how something they once took for granted is now missing, and that's when the breakthrough happens. It's a collision between past and present, a stark contrast between what they had and what they have now. For a while, they convinced themselves they made the right choice. Maybe they thought they needed space, that life apart would be easier, that moving forward was the best option. They may have even told themselves they were better off without you. But clarity doesn't let them hold on to illusions. It forces them to face the truth. They underestimated what you meant to them. They miscalculated your impact. They assumed they could replace something irreplaceable. This kind of realization doesn't just knock gently, it crashes in like a wave, drowning out the false narratives they've been feeding themselves. It happens when they see something that reminds them of you, when they hear your name, when they smell a familiar scent, when they hear a song that once played in the background of a shared memory. Clarity doesn't come in the form of one big moment. It's an accumulation of small, undeniable truths stacking up until they can't be ignored anymore. And when they finally acknowledge it, it hits hard because they recognize not only what they lost, but also that they were the ones who let it go. It wasn't stolen from them. It wasn't taken by force. They made a choice, and now that choice is staring them in the face. There's no one else to blame, no external factor to pin it on. Just the realization that they walked away from something rare, and now they have to live with that decision. Clarity is ruthless. It doesn't soften the blow, it delivers truth with precision, cutting through all the justifications they once held on to. And once someone sees the truth, they can't unsee it. They can't go back to pretending they're unaffected. They can't convince themselves they don't care anymore. They've crossed the threshold between ignorance and understanding, and that is where transformation begins. But the most profound part of this clarity is that it isn't about nostalgia. It's not just missing the past, it's realizing that the future they envisioned without you is empty. It's recognizing that what they had wasn't ordinary, that what you brought into their life wasn't common. It's not about wanting something familiar, it's about needing something real. It's about coming face to face with the reality that life was richer, fuller, and more meaningful when you were in it. This clarity doesn't just create a longing, it creates urgency, a desperate need to undo what's been done, to retrace steps, to find a way back. But clarity alone isn't enough. It's only the beginning. It forces them to acknowledge their emotions, but it also presents them with a challenge. What will they do with this newfound understanding? Will they let it consume them with regret, or will they take action? That's where the real test begins. Because realizing they need you back is one thing. Proving they deserve another chance is something else entirely. Absence is not just a void, it's a force. It creates space, and in that space, truths emerge. The most powerful realizations don't happen when someone is still within reach. They happen when they're left with nothing but memories and silence. It's only in absence that people truly understand present. When you were there, they didn't need to question what life felt like with you in it. They didn't need to analyze your value because it was consistent, always present, always available. Human nature is predictable in this way. When something or someone is always accessible, their presence can become routine, expected, not necessarily unappreciated, but not fully acknowledged either. Comfort creates a false sense of security, making it easy to assume that what exists today will always exist tomorrow. But absence shatters that illusion. It forces reflection. It introduces uncertainty. It creates a contrast between what once was and what now is. Suddenly, the comfort they once felt transforms into discomfort. The ease of knowing you were always there becomes the difficulty of realizing you are not. In the beginning, they might not recognize it. They might even convince themselves that the distance is good, that they are adjusting just fine, that life is moving forward as it should. Maybe they fill their days with distractions, surrounding themselves with people, activities, or habits that keep them from facing the truth. They might even tell themselves a story that they made the right decision, that things are better this way, that they don't need to look back. But absence doesn't allow lies to last forever. It works slowly, deliberately. It creeps in through the cracks of distraction, through the quiet moments between conversations, through the nights that feel just a little bit lonelier than before. It whispers reminders in the form of old songs, familiar places, inside jokes that no longer land because the person who once shared them is no longer there. And that's when the realization starts to take hold. The distractions stop working as well as they used to. The laughter feels a little less genuine. The connections with others feel surface level compared to what once existed. The things that once seemed exciting or fulfilling no longer hold the same weight. And most importantly, they start to see the difference between filling time and feeling whole. Absence exposes the truth about what matters. It doesn't just highlight what is missing, it highlights why it mattered in the first place. They start to remember the little things, the way your presence brought ease to their chaos, the way your conversations felt like home, the way your laughter could shift the mood of an entire day. They remember the warmth, the energy, the security that you provided, and they start to see that it wasn't just a passing moment in their life, it was a defining part of it. The most profound aspect of absence is how it reveals priorities. It forces a comparison between what they thought they wanted and what they actually needed. Maybe they thought they needed space. Maybe they thought they needed change. Maybe they thought they needed to experience life differently. But now, without you there, they see the reality of those choices. They start to realize that what they were searching for was never something outside of what they already had. They were chasing something they thought would be more fulfilling, only to realize that the most meaningful connection had already been right in front of them. Absence forces growth. It makes them confront their own decisions, their own emotions, their own capacity for understanding what truly matters. It strips away the noise and leaves only the raw truth. And the most undeniable truth of all is this: if your presence didn't matter, your absence wouldn't hurt. It's in that moment that they start to question everything. Why did they let this go? Why did they believe they could move on so easily? Why did they assume that life without you would be just as fulfilling? And most importantly, can they go back? Can they undo what's been done? Can they fix what they broke? That's the power of absence. It doesn't just make them miss you. It makes them realize why they need you. There is a fundamental shift that happens when you stop seeing yourself as someone waiting to be chosen and start recognizing that you are the prize. Too often people spend their time chasing validation, trying to prove their worth, hoping someone will recognize their value. But the truth is, the moment you step into your power, the game changes. The moment you realize you don't need to be chosen because you are already valuable as you are, everything shifts. When someone realizes they need you back, it's because they've finally woken up to what they lost. But that realization doesn't come because you begged for it, because you pleaded for their attention, or because you waited around hoping they'd notice. It comes when you rise, when you evolve, when you become so undeniable that they can't help but take notice. The world operates on a simple principle. What is scarce becomes valuable. When something is always available, when it is easily accessible, people take it for granted. But when something is rare, when it is unique, when it is not easily replaced, that's when people start to understand its true worth. This is why stepping back, leveling up, and focusing on your own growth is the most powerful thing you can do. Think about this. Have you ever noticed how people suddenly become more interested when you stop giving them unlimited access? How they start paying attention when you start focusing on yourself? That's not a coincidence. That's the power of shifting your energy inward. That's the moment when they begin to see what they missed, what they overlooked, what they walked away from. Because here's the truth, they didn't leave because you weren't enough. They left because they didn't recognize what they had. And that's not a reflection of your worth. That's a reflection of their ability to see clearly. Your value does not decrease just because someone else failed to appreciate it in the moment. Your worth is not dependent on someone else's recognition of it. You are the prize. And the moment you start acting like it, the entire dynamic changes. Think of yourself as a rare diamond. A diamond doesn't beg to be picked. It doesn't chase people down and try to convince them of its brilliance. It simply exists in its rarity, and those who recognize its value will do whatever it takes to obtain it. The same goes for you. You don't need to prove your worth to anyone. You don't need to convince someone that you are valuable. The right people will see it, and those who don't, they were never meant to have you in the first place. When someone realizes they need you back, it's because they've had time to compare, time to experience what life is like without you, time to see that the connections they try to form elsewhere don't measure up. And why don't they measure up? Because you were never just another option. You were the standard. You were the person who brought something irreplaceable to their life. And now, in your absence, they finally understand that. But here's what you have to ask yourself. Are you the same person they left? Or have you grown into someone even more powerful, even more radiant, even more self-assured? Because the truth is, you should never be waiting in the same place they left you. You should be evolving, growing, becoming even more of what makes you extraordinary. When you carry yourself with the confidence of knowing your worth, the energy around you shifts. People can feel it. They sense that you are no longer someone who is waiting. You are someone who is living, thriving, operating at a level that demands respect. And when they realize they need you back, it won't be because you begged for it. It won't be because you reminded them of your worth. It will be because they finally see what was in front of them all along. And at that moment, the power is no longer in their hands, it's in yours. Because now, it's not about whether they want you back, it's about whether they have done enough to deserve another chance. When someone realizes they need you back, it's because they've finally come face to face with the truth. Life without you isn't the same. Maybe they thought they could move on without looking back. Maybe they believed they could replace what you brought into their life. But something changed, something clicked, and now they're ready to come back. But here's where most people make a mistake. They see this moment as the victory. They think the fact that someone wants them back means everything should go back to the way it was. That's not how this works. If they want to return, if they want another chance, it has to be on your terms. You are not the same person they left. You have grown, you have evolved, you have built a stronger version of yourself. And that means the old dynamic, the one where they took you for granted, where they assumed you'd always be there, no longer exists. If they want back in, they have to meet you at the level you are at now. The first thing you need to ask yourself is this: why are they coming back? Is it because they truly understand what they lost? Have they done the inner work to recognize their mistakes, to acknowledge the ways they may have failed you? Or are they coming back simply because they feel lonely, because they miss the comfort, because they don't like the emptiness their choices created. There's a big difference between someone who genuinely realizes your worth and someone who just doesn't want to be alone. One is rooted in growth and accountability, the other is rooted in convenience. Your job is to recognize which one it is. If they truly see your worth, they will return with more than just words. They will return with action, with proof that they are willing to do what it takes to rebuild, to earn your trust, to show up in ways they failed to before. Because words are easy. I miss you. I've changed. I won't make the same mistakes. Those are just sentences unless they are backed by effort, by consistency, by a real understanding of what needs to be different this time around. You are not here to provide an easy return. You are not here to be a revolving door that someone walks in and out of when it suits them. If they want to be in your life again, they have to prove they deserve that privilege. And yes, being in your life is a privilege because you bring something rare, something unique, something that cannot be found just anywhere. That's why they're back. That's why they realize they need you. But realization alone is not enough. You need to set the standard. What does being with you require? What does it mean to be in your presence, to receive your energy, your love, your loyalty? If you do not set the standard, they will assume they can return on the same terms they left. They will assume all they need to do is apologize, say the right things, and everything will reset. But that's not how a comeback works. This is where your power lies. You get to decide what happens next. Do they align with the future you are building? Do they bring value, growth, and stability to your life? Are they capable of showing up in the way you now require? Because the truth is you don't need them. You may care for them, you may still have love for them, but needing them? No. That part is over. The moment they walked away, the moment they made the choice to be without you, they showed you that life moves forward. And you did exactly that. You built, you healed, you grew into someone even more extraordinary. If they want a place in that life, they must rise to meet you where you are. There is no going back to what was. There is only moving forward to something better, something stronger, something built on a new foundation. And that foundation starts with you knowing your worth and refusing to accept anything less than what you deserve.